Hi, I am Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Welcome to my YouTube channel and to this video and series. Today's video is really about how trauma and attachment wounds can play out in kids and in adults, as we'll go into this series further in the week, especially around clinical diagnoses found in the DSM-5 and how these manifestations of these wounds can show up in mental health challenges in our lives. And the goal of this video is not to sort of give you very specific information about this particular disorder of disinhibited social engagement disorder, which is one of two attachment disorders that we kind of see in children, but to help you understand that there really is a price to pay for severe neglect and different types of attachment wounding, and to validate what it can look like for kids. Now, these disorders are generally rare, but I think if you take them from the extreme, which is the disorder, but then understand how these things can play out in our lives because of the experiences of childhood with our caregivers, I think it's really important to honor and validate that we do and really can struggle. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos. And please check out all the videos and the courses and everything I have really worked hard to share with you around understanding attachment and childhood wounds and adult relationships and just all that stuff that sort of affects childhood all the way up to your adult life and relationships. So, Disinhibited Social Engagement Disorder used to be part of one disorder, has now been split into two, between a sort of inhibited, which is reactive attachment, and disinhibited, which is this disorder, the Dsed disorder. Basically, the heart of this one is, as opposed to the child in RAD who will not really seek out comfort and proximity and connection, these are kids who will pretty much try to get it from anybody. In fact, there is no stranger danger. There's no discernment about who adults are. They will sort of seek connection with anybody. And it does tend to come from severely neglectful and wounding early childhood experiences. And like I said yesterday, remember that for many kids who are having these experiences, this is way before language development and before their cognitive development, but the trauma is living in their bodies and it is playing out and shaping how they're engaging in the world. So we'll talk in a few minutes about where it comes from. But like I said, the symptoms look like no fear of strangers, hugging or cuddling unknown adults, just kind of going up to anybody, behavior that is overly friendly and talkative to strangers, doesn't necessarily look to parents or caregivers for permission to approach those strangers. And while these symptoms might continue into the adult and teenage years, we're still lacking a lot of knowledge about kind of how that plays out in adult lives. And so the child has experienced a pattern of extremes of insufficient care as evidenced by at least one of the following: social neglect or deprivation in some persistent form of lacking their basic needs being met around comfort and emotions and really caregiving and attention and affection. There are repeated changes also potentially of primary caregivers. So we're talking about foster care and removals from home placements. Child rearing in unusual settings that severely limit opportunities to form selective attachments. In other words, institutions with high child to caregiver ratios. So a child's in an institution, but there aren't a lot of adults, so a lot more kids, and so less opportunities to form bonding. And the care is presumed to be responsible for their behavior, so we're assuming that that's what the reasons why. The child has to have a developmental age of at least 9 months, and it can be considered persistent if it lasts more than 12 months. So the bottom line is that these are kids who are, it's kind of just like yesterday's video with reactive attachment disorder, not getting that healthy, secure, consistent, for the most part, attachment experience. These are the kind of kids who really just don't discriminate between, safety and not. If you think about how that might play out and what a risky behavior that is, if you're just willing to walk up to any old person in the market, right, and hold their hand and walk out of the store with them, it's not some cute, charming thing. It's actually potentially a very high-risk behavior. And so the treatments are very similar to the ones I mentioned yesterday, which is psychosocial treatments, looking at interventions, I should say, psychoeducation, family therapy, individual therapy, parenting skills, helping repair. All of these attachment disorders are not treated by forcing attachment behaviors onto kids, but by creating safe and nurturing and informed environments for them to make connections and to do so. So as I said, what I wanted to share is just that how these clinical manifestations can show up, and they're not perfect and we still need lots more research, but to understand that these patterns, especially in severe ways, have significant impacts on our lives. And I hope they validate if you are at that extreme end. I'm so sorry if you understand this disorder, or you've lived it, or you've raised a child you've adopted who's struggled in some way, or in some pattern this has affected your life, because the truth is that these things do impact us. And so that was my goal. We're going to talk tomorrow about, I believe we're going to go into PTSD tomorrow. And once again, there are a lot of great videos on PTSD, but I want to give you the sort of overarching understanding of what it is, and as always, and you can take that and learn more, but applying it within the lens of childhood trauma and attachment and relationships, how that can show up in our own mental health and how we engage in the world. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being here. Please stay safe and well, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.